Trigger warning, I'm probably going to annoy the PvPers with this one. Just saying. Hello, my fellow Novians. Welcome to another episode of this tutorial series. My name is Rob, and today we're going to be talking about how to avoid PvP. So if you're one of them space truckers that wants to go ahead and haul stuff long distances or across planetary surfaces or whatever, we're going to talk about how PvP works currently and how to avoid it. So, the simplest thing is... Oh, my hatch is open. Oh no, space is getting in. We're all gonna die. So, if you're one of those people that wants to PvP in this game, or anything else, right? The first thing you should know is that there are a lot of skills for PvP. So, you have operations for extra small weapons, you have operations for small weapons, you have operations for medium weapons, you have operations for large weapons, etc., etc. And for each type, there is a different subset. And as you go up the types, they require you to know the previous stuff. So if we look at like railgun large operations, if you want... So there's 6 different things here that if you're going to get into PvP, you want to train in, right? If we look at these and we look at what the requirements are as we go up, like this one requires Railgun Medium 2. If we look at Railgun Medium 2, it requires Railgun S2. And if we look at Railgun S2, it requires Railgun Extra Small 2. So there is a lot of training, and you can see over here that I am training quite a few handling skills, which are the placement skills, and that's just the placement skills. That's just so I can put a railgun down and get all of the boosts out of it that I can possibly get. That has nothing to do with using it. So this is just 41 days for me to learn all of the tier 4 railgun handling things. So PvP as it stands takes a lot of training time. You can just jump into it and go about it and do all the other stuff. But if you have these skills, like if we look at action, right? Railgun L action gives you plus 5% damage per level. So as it stands, you can get a lot more damage from your railguns if you're trained. Railgun operation makes your rate of fire go up, makes your reload speed go up, makes your range go up, makes your tracking go up. So anybody who has all of these maxed is going to kill anybody who doesn't have all of these maxed. It's just gonna, it's science. Deal with it. It gives you a statistical boost. So if you're one of those people that is putting training into all of your piloting skills, so you can pilot a hauler and lift more heavier loads, and you're training the mining stuff so you can do the mining, then doing the PvP skills is a drain. So you might not want to get into that, you know? And I know there's people out there that say like, oh, well, there's nothing stopping you from training those skills and being a hauler pilot. Well, I'll tell you what, putting weapons on a hauler is just asking for pirates to come and take them from you. That's my 2 cents on that. So on top of weapons, you also need to learn the radar skills so you can see when somebody gets close. And you can target them further out. And you also need the ammo skills, so you can get the most out of your ammo. So like I said, whereas industry just has like one main set of skills, and mining just has one main set of skills, for PvP you need to do weapons, radar, and ammo skills. So that's why I decided to do this video on how to avoid PvP instead of how to get into it, because it takes a while, and if you're not interested in that, then it's kind of better at the moment anyway to avoid it, because there are a lot of exploits that go on, and personally, until those exploits are fixed, I'm not that comfortable with doing the PvPs. So anyway, I wanted to come out here because I made a video a while back, and this is our new warp shuttle. So if you're interested in this, you can come over to my Chimera shipyard showroom. No, Chimera Shipworks showroom, and take a look at it. A lot of people think it's pretty. Me too. Anyway, I'm using the warp shuttle because it's cheap on warp cells, and I can test out something here. So I'm going to go ahead and select, let's say Ion, and we're going to set the warp point, right? Because I made a comment in one of my other videos that you could kind of counter the PvPer's exploit with doing the exploit on your own. So we're going to talk about what is the exploit first, and then we'll try to see if it is counterable or if it's worth being countered. So first of all, what is the exploit? The exploit is basically going into warp and hitting Alt F4 to exit warp. And we talked about the pipe, and basically the pipe is a giant corridor between two planets that is the direct line. So I've got Ion targeted, and if I was going to slow boat this, I would have left Alioth there, and I would have gone straight towards that beacon there, or not beacon, but waypoint, and that would keep me in the pipe. Alternatively, I could go in this direction for another hour and a half, and then turn towards Ion, and that will put me out of the pipe. However, that is a lot of time, and if you got to be somewhere at some point, you don't want to just log off and leave all your stuff in space. So you're talking about very, very long slow boating drive, especially to Ion. I think it's like 3 or 4 hours. And if you go straight from Alioth to Ion, you are in the pipe for that whole 4 hours. And what the PvPers are doing is they're taking small warp ships or shuttles like this, and they're jumping back and forth between, let's say, Ion and Alioth. And this could be anywhere. Any of the planets have a pipe, right? If you go from Alioth to Teoma, this is the pipe right here, the direct line. If you go to Sinan, this is the direct line. So any slow boating between those points outside of the safe zone, which is this bubble here, and I think it's 3 or 4 kilometers or SU away from a planet, you'll enter the PvP zone as well. If you are in that corridor, what they'll do is they'll get a warp shuttle and they'll warp back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And they have a Lua code running that basically jots down any radar contact onto a notepad. So even if they're moving fast enough that they can't see you in the pipe, their notepad has now jotted down your exact position. And now what they can do is go get in their PvP ship, fly towards that waypoint that they now have from their notepad, and Alt F4 to quit the game and drop out of warp within range and in front of you. And if you somehow manage to evade them, they'll do the same thing. Warp back and forth, up, got your position, jump out of warp in front of you again. So with this exploit, if you get seen and someone sees you and you don't have any weapons on your ship and you're not armored, you're pretty much SOL, because there's nothing you can absolutely do, because they're just going to continue to warp in front of you, making your life a living hell. So what if you did want to slow boat? Well, my theory was that you could use the same system and plot a point towards, let's say, Feli or Ion or some other location and drop out of warp before you hit that location and then repoint towards a different location. Now, my concern is if we do that, destination too far. That's a new one. Okay, that's apparently not too far. So my concern is that if I warp towards Simian, and I Alt F4. Will it use up all 7 of those warp cells that it's going to take me to get there? So that's what we're going to test right now. You can see I have 26 warp cells, and it's going to take me 7 warp cells to get there. So it should be 19 warp cells left, right? If I did that right, 6, 5, 7, 8. Anyway, so we'll see how many warp cells it used. So let's keep that minus 26 warp cells in my container. So let's go ahead and activate the warp. Oop. All right, and I'm going to Alt F4 after we go into warp and see how many warp cells it used. And Alt F4. And we use the magic skip ahead machine to me logging back in. And we're back. And apparently we are slowing down now from the speed of warp. Well, at least half the speed of warp. And that's going to take a while. But if I had a ship with a ton of space brakes, I would definitely be able to slow down a lot faster. But let's look at the thing that we wanted to look at. Boop. And let's set a destination to Ion. So, yep, it did use all 7 of those warp cells. So our theory was that you could warp halfway and drop out and kind of fight on the pirates if you wanted to not use all of your warp cells to do a jump. But that is apparently invalid, as it's just going to use a bunch of warp cells anyway. And yeah. So still, your best bet would be, if you're leaving Ion, just go in this direction for an hour and then turn towards Alioth and get your butt out of the pipe, and it'll make you harder to find. Alternatively, you could warp towards Simian from Ion and maybe use less warp cells, because that's not going to be as many warp cells as to Alioth, and just drop out a warp in between Ion and Simian and then come in. And that would be valid as well. But apparently, don't do what I said in the other video and try jumping towards Feli and dropping out, and then jumping towards Teoma and dropping out to put you in the middle of space somewhere. Unless you're trying to place a space station that nobody's going to find. That would be a good way to place a space station that nobody's going to find, just randomly dropping out a warp in certain places. Just remember that apparently you still have to slow down. So if you don't want to drop out a warp doing 50,000 kilometers per hour, bring a ship that has some brakes on it, because this thing is just designed jump, warp. So, yep, that's about it. Warping, even if you drop out, does use the total amount of cells that you were going to use to begin with. So let me go back to Alioth, and I'll get back to work on building my space station. And yeah, I don't know if you guys are interested in watching like a time-lapse build series or something on me putting together a ship. I'm going to be starting on a large core ship soon. That's going to be kind of a hauler carrier type deal. No PvP ships yet. Like I said, I'm still training the placement skills, so I want to be able to put down the guns at high tiers, and we'll get that going. So yeah, that's our video for today. Hopefully you found that informative. If you liked the video, obviously, as usual, go ahead and give a thumbs up. And if you didn't like the video, thanks for sitting all the way through. I apologize. I apologize. It's too late to apologize. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe and slap the notification button to always be notified when I drop a new video. Until next time, I will see you out there in space. Stay safe, my friends.